One more minute. Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone. We are so glad you're here. Welcome. I hope you enjoy the presentation. I'm going to go over a few housekeeping rules before we get started. So we appreciate your patience and your cooperation. Your mic will remain muted for the entire presentation due to recording purposes. Your video camera should be turned off upon entering the meeting. If for some reason it is not, we're going to ask you to move your cursor to the lower left-hand corner of your screen and click on the movie camera symbol. And you'll see a little red line come up through your video camera. You are also able to earn credit for today's presentation. A QR code will be posted on the screen upon the conclusion of the presentation. This presentation is being recorded and a link will be posted for your convenience and viewing at a later date. So 10 cc's of self-care stat. How did we come up with that title? Well, I wanted to share that with you. This past spring, Dr. Pistorek and Dr. Baker, the two psychologists on the mental health intervention team, developed a needs assessment through a survey monkey and sent the survey out to the district staff. The top 4 major concerns of the survey are the 4 presentation topics that we are doing throughout this month of May. May is also the Mental Health Awareness Month, and what an opportunity it is for us to present and support you in the needs that you shared with us. So we do want to thank you for participating in that survey. We asked you, you responded, and we heard you. Self-care is critical. It was critical before this pandemic, and it's critical for educators. So let's go ahead and get started. Please know that this disclaimer is about you and protecting you. All content in this presentation is for informational purposes only and is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek advice of your physician or other qualified health providers with any questions you may have regarding a medical or mental health condition. Your presenters today are Mrs. Shelly Ann James Perillion. Shelly Ann is a certified teacher, school counselor, and licensed professional counselor in the state of Texas, and has served the CFISD community for 16 years. Currently serves as one of the 4 LPCs on the CFISD Mental Health Intervention team. I'm Joanne Wallace. I am a certified special education teacher, school counselor, and licensed professional counselor supervisor in the state of Texas. I am currently one of the other LPCs on the mental health intervention team, and if you believe it or not, which I can, I'm about to complete my 19th year. So self-care. Well, I already told you why that's one of our topics, but what we want to share is we're going to do a deep dive into self-care. I'm going to cover the first half of these objectives, and then Michelle Ann's going to continue with the second half, ending with building a self-care plan. So why self-care? For those of you who don't know Mr. Brooks, we're going to share a short video. If you would give it your attention, I would appreciate it.
Let me help you take a glimpse into education these days and what all of us are going through. Teachers, admin, speech path counselors, paraprofessionals, bus drivers, cafeteria workers, all of us, everybody in education. We said goodbye to
Sorry about that.
our students, having no clue whatsoever that we would not see them again this school year. We sent them away, leaving things in the classroom and desks full and lockers full, and we're dealing with that stress, and we're helping our students deal with the stress of not being able to see their teachers, their paraprofessionals, their friends again, and we're dealing with that. Do you know why? And we're doing a great job. Here's why. Because we're educators strong. Teachers had to come up with lessons to send home that would continue our instruction with almost no notice at all, at the drop of a hat. Teachers have completely changed the way they teach with no training whatsoever. They are continuing on with high quality instruction. Do you know why? Because they are all educators strong. Our counselors, do you realize what our counselors are dealing with? They're dealing with everybody that now has trauma, because everybody has trauma. They're dealing with every parent, every student, and even the colleagues, because we're all going through this trauma, and our counselors have stepped up and are doing an amazing job. Do you know why? Because our counselors are educators strong. Admin, did you know that your principal, assistant principal, your central office people have never been trained in this? Never been trained. And you know what? They are stepping up, and they are leading schools from behind a camera, and leading schools where no one's in the building, and leading districts having had no training. Do you know why? Because they're all educators strong. Our high school and middle school teachers are teaching 4, 5, 6 blocks of students, 20, 30, 40 students per classroom, per block, and they're doing it every day. Providing high quality instruction, gathering work back in and grading it, giving feedback, and they're doing it every single day. Do you know why? Because they're all educators strong. I cannot imagine being a special ed teacher at this time. I wish that everybody could step in and be a special ed teacher during this time, because those teachers and those paraprofessionals are having to meet the individual needs of 15, 20, 25 students every single day. I cannot imagine it. Our speech therapists, our OTs, all these people are now having to, and our counselors are having to do teletherapy. Guess what they've not been trained in? Teletherapy. But those people are stepping up and able to serve the needs of the students that need them and need that therapy online and over a camera. You know why? Because they're all educators strong. And we forget about our paraprofessionals, our bus drivers, our cafeteria workers, our custodians. And guess what? Many of them are still in the buildings. They're making copies. They're translating. They're calling parents. They're driving all over town trying to find parents. And they're getting ready for the next school year. Do you know why they're able to do that? Because they're educators strong. So here's the question I have for you. Did you realize that? Did you realize that everybody in your child's school, every one of your friends that are educators are all educators strong? If you have an educator in your life, friend, colleague, child's teacher, let them know they're educator strong.
Okay, so why self-care? You just heard what he said, right? And besides the fact that you may have been listening for your position mentioned, he didn't mention our police officers, our psychologists, or our diags. And there may be many other levels that we didn't mention, but Mr. Brooks' district isn't as large as ours. But here's what I know and what I heard him say. It's almost overwhelming if you just think of the educational aspect of what we're living in right now, but he didn't mention anything about your home life. Add all that to it, your family's life, taking care of friends and neighbors, all the people's lives who you impact, right? So it's truly amazing what we do. But also another reason it's critical for self-care. We talk about it throughout the year when we go to trainings, and it's the last 5 minutes. Oh yeah, think about yourself and take care of yourself, right? Well, this is the second presentation in this series, and it's because it's critical and vital that you take care of yourself. And we're going to break it down because we want you to walk away with some more tools to your toolbox. But I also want to put a thank you out there, because educators care. It doesn't matter what level of education you're in, you care. And the amazing thing is you're invested in the most major resource on the planet, and that's our youth. Each and every one of you are changing the world one student at a time. And that's an amazing feat. So because of who we are, it's critical to self-care. Thank you. Oops. So self-care, what is it? It's an activity that we do deliberately in order to take care of our mental, emotional, and physical health. Really simple concept in theory, right? But how many of us are doing it? Well, we've discovered that we need to incorporate it into our daily lives and have become a habit. That's where it really makes a difference. So a habit is something you do often and regularly, sometimes without even knowing it. That's where we want you to get with self-care, that you build it into your day and don't even think about it. So what is self-care really? Well, this is where we're going to begin our dive. You've gotten a general definition of it, but here's what we want you to think about. You need to be kind to yourself. Use kind words when you're describing yourself. Don't put yourself down. Turn that voice down, that volume down in your head. Do your best. And then we have self-awareness. Remember that you're human and you have imperfections. Sorry, nobody's perfect. Maybe you need to give yourself a little bit of a break. And then compassion, having some compassion for yourself. Every day, you can't be perfect. Every day can't be a great day. Some days you may not have a good day. Maybe you need to give yourself a break and forgive yourself and just let it go. It's also about balance. Nobody's perfect. And sometimes you can see I have up here setting boundaries. We're all about trying to keep it in balance. And sometimes you're going to need to say no. It's okay. Sometimes you're overloaded. We're in education. We're always asked to be doing more and more and more things. And that's not going to change because that is education. We're always building and improving to support our students and families. And then taking care of yourself, body, mind, and spirit. That's normally what most people think about when they think about self-care. But as you can see, I've already mentioned 3 or 4 other things. But it is important to take care of your health and your mind and your spirit. And I want to point out here that every day is not a great day. You may be struggling and you may need to reach out to somebody to lift your spirits. Do that. Your family's going to love you no matter how miserable you are. That's the benefit of family and some good friends and colleagues, right? Reach out, but you also might want to reach out when you're having a good day because maybe one of your cohorts or your family members are having a bad day and you can reciprocate. And finally, self-care looks different for everybody. We're all different. We all have different needs. And so it's going to take different tools to fill our buckets. So I want to address what self-care is not. I think some people get this confused with what self-care is versus what it's not. It is not what we force ourselves to do. If your friend's going to yoga, it doesn't mean you have to go to yoga. Let's find out what you like. If that's not fun, then it's going to be a stressor or more pressure for you. Self-care is not something we don't enjoy doing. You don't enjoy doing it, you shouldn't be doing it. It's taking away from you, not filling you up. Some people think that self-care is selfish. No, it's not a selfish act. Taking care of yourself, I always think about the airplane and when the oxygen masks drop, they say, take care of you first. We need to do that. As educators, we take care of everybody around us. And self-care is not something you buy or a service. You can do some, and integrate some self-care into your day without spending a cent. And it's not about perfection because none of us are perfect. Now this next one, excess engagement of numbing behaviors. I think we all know what I'm talking about here without me having to say it. There are lots of things you can do to relax, but we don't want you to get numb. Sit down with your family and watch a movie. If you're numbing yourself through various means, you're not present, you're not feeling, um, that's not self-care. That's numbing, that's avoiding. That might mean you need to talk to somebody and reach out, get some support. And then self-care is not about working harder to fix something about ourselves. That would be self-growth, or that's a whole nother topic, but it's not self-care. So why is it so hard to self-care? Well, these are the other thought processes that Michelle and I talked about that we wanted to tackle because we want to change your thought process. Part of the reason people don't self-care is because they have a negative self-complex. Their focus is negative. They speak negatively about themselves. They view it negatively. It's like one more thing. I want you to turn that volume down in your head. We carry these negative concepts that maybe are something from the past and they're not even relevant today, and we've grown from it. So I want you to try to shut down that negative self-talk. Time and energy. I actually have asked several people what they do for self-care while I was getting this presentation together. And they said, there's no time, there's no energy. There is time and there is energy. I need you to change your view on that. Self-care isn't that hard. It could be 10 minutes earlier to bed, 10 minutes of in the tub or a hot shower before you get into bed. People tell me they don't have time or energy. That by the end of the day, they have no energy left. Well, I've got 4 books on my nightstand, and they're all different topics. And sometimes I get into bed and it's 10 minutes with a book. It's not taking any more time away from me or energy. I want you to think about something little that you can do and incorporate into your daily life. And then negative worldview, good gracious, turn off the news. We have negative information streaming into our house from every screen from morning till night. Who can be positive or have a positive perspective when you're hearing about a global body count daily, hourly? Oh my gosh, turn the news off. Indulgence. There's a concept about taking care of ourselves that has a negative connotation that some people think it's selfish or indulgent. And that's an incorrect belief. Now, if you like to golf and you're golfing every weekend, leaving your spouse at home with the kids and handling the house, that might be an indulgence. But remember, we're talking about balance and reasonableness. It's okay to take care of yourself. And you may go golfing and then reciprocate with your spouse, and then you stay home with the kids and let her go have some self-care time. We're educated adults. We're all professionals. You might have to sit with your family members and try to attack this incorrect belief. And then we don't really know or understand what self-care means, which is one of the reasons for the presentation. As you can see, there's already more facets to it than you realized, right? So I want you to think about taking care of yourself, what it means to you, explore that, and then try and incorporate it in your day. And then finally, we have money. You don't have to go on a vacation, spend a lot of money or time away for self-care. You can incorporate it in your daily lives. You built the house and home that you are in, and you surrounded it with things that you like. You chose. You have things readily available at your fingertips to make you feel better throughout the day. We want you to utilize those. So types of self-care, there are at least 5, and I refer to these as buckets. These are buckets in my mind. So there's sensory, emotional, physical, social, and spiritual. So I'm going to give you an example of some sensory. So I know somebody who has Christmas lights throughout their house right now. And what that does is set a tone. So when they get up and start brewing their coffee in the morning, they'll walk around and plug in their lights. So throughout their day, they have twinkle lights, not lamps, not overhead lights, twinkle lights, and it sets this nice, calm lighting tone throughout their home. Emotional. I'm going to use one of the examples I did earlier. If you're up, give somebody else a call and lift their spirits. If you're down, give somebody else a call and it will lift your spirits. Physical. Okay, so one of my counterparts, hopefully she's listening, we were on the phone about students, on the phone about parents, on the phone about a colleague. And when we connect, she gets up and walks. She's walking around her house. She's walking up and down her driveway. She's walking up and down her street. It's not costing her anything. It's not taking her time. She's self-caring. It's a little thing she does for herself. Social, I'm back to we are social beings. Isolation is not good for any human being. Reach out. What does reach out mean? My neighbors were all sitting around the cul-de-sac in their chairs, keeping a distance, talking, giggling, laughing, sitting outside in the sun. We need to see other people's faces, eye contact, hear connotations. Texting doesn't do it. That's not social enough for us as humans. And then spiritual. I've heard a lot about spirituality in these last 2 months. People are looking inward, thinking about the things they can control. We can't control these things happening outside, but we can control what's happening inside. Some are leaning on faith more in their faith groups. Some are reanalyzing their lives and their value system and really coming up with things that are determining what's more valuable in their lives. A time of reflection. So these are the 5 buckets. You may be full. All your buckets may be full. Good for you. You keep going. Share that with people around you. But I have a feeling as educators, as moms and dads and spouses, and all the other hats we wear, that some of your buckets are empty and need some filling. Some of them are running on fumes. And we want you to think about what types of things you can incorporate in your day to start filling those buckets and pay attention to them. So let's explore and process. Now, process is the term I use throughout my mental health field, right? Explore is an educational word, so I put both of them up there because we're going to do a little bit of both. So my first question, which you've all already read, are you taking care of yourself? It's a yes, no answer, right? And I need you to be honest with yourself. I can't see your faces, I can't hear your voices, but here's what I want to share. If you're angry, if you're frustrated, if you're exhausted, if you're feeling lonely and you're sad, you're not taking care of yourself. I can tell you you're not. Go back to those buckets. What can you do to fill those buckets? If you're like right here and you're saying, I'm fine, I'm good, and you're just barely getting by, you still need to go back. We want more in those buckets. You need to do a little bit more for yourself. And I want you to think about what you're doing to recharge. You may need more. This is a very challenging time that we're in. The things that we're working as tools to support ourselves in self-care may not be working right now. We need many, many more tools in place to use, to go to. So now I'm going to go therapist on you, and I'm going to go through a process. And a process just means we're going to go in and we're going to take some steps and thoughts. So indulge me. I can't see you. You can see me. But here's what I want you to do. You're all sitting in a safe place because you're all in a private place to be able to hear this, right? Most of you are in your homes. I saw somebody who was in their car. But I want you to close your eyes for a moment, just for a couple minutes. I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to think about something that made you smile recently. A picture of your child, something funny your spouse said, a meme, a goofy video, but something that made you smile? I want you to think about that. Blow it up bigger in your mind. And now I want you to think about a time in your life when you were happy, like truly happy. It feels good. There was a time, I promise you, we all have a happy time. I don't care how far back you have to go. I want you to think about a happy time. Who was there? Who was with you? Where were you? And then I want you to think about the last time you laughed. What made you laugh? A good belly laugh. We all know that physiologically laughing does amazing things for our mind, body, and spirit. If you haven't laughed, I want you to get on Netflix or wherever you have to go, or stand-up comics. Do something, because there's so much physiological benefit, emotional benefit, and mental benefit from laughing. And Mr. Brooks had me giggling. Mind you, I went through about 40 of his videos before I chose the right one. So now I want you to breathe. I still want you to keep your eyes closed. And we're going to breathe, and you're going to inhale through your nose and exhale through your mouth. Indulge me. I cannot see you. I want you to breathe in through your nose, exhale through your mouth. Your exhale should be twice as long as your inhale. So breathe in and exhale. Inhale. Exhale. I want you to open your eyes. You can keep breathing and just take a look at this little video. Well, thank you. That was a little self-care gift from Michelle Ann and myself. Didn't cost you a thing, maybe a few minutes of your time. But now I'm going to turn it over to Michelle Ann, James Perillion, and thank you. Share your audio. You're on.
Okay, sorry about that. All this new technology that we're learning. So thank you, Joanne, for taking us through the core concepts of self-care. And I'm trying to move my PowerPoint back. Okay, there it is. That's where I want to start. Okay. So hopefully that breathing exercise and just closing your eyes and getting yourself recentered really helped you kind of just ease down whatever stress you were feeling at the moment. Self-care is really very important. And as Joanne said, many of us, we are not practicing it. And there's so many reasons why. But when we don't, there are consequences for that. You know, every action, there's a reaction. Whether we do or we don't, there's going to be something on the other end. You know, I like to think of our vehicles. We use our vehicles every day. We depend on our vehicles. We want them to be working properly. And so what it is we do, we try to keep up with the maintenance of our vehicles. You know, whether that's the changing the oils, the tires, the washing our vehicles, keeping it clean, whatever is needed. We hear something that doesn't sound right, we take it to the mechanic. We need to be doing the same things for ourselves, because just as when we don't take care of our vehicles, chances are it's going to break down, and it's going to break down at always an inopportune time. It's the same way. If we don't take care of ourselves, we are going to break down. So it is vitally important that we begin to practice self-care, because I'm sure that if you have not, by now you are beginning to feel that burnout. You are just ready for the semester to end. This semester has been different. It has caught all of us unawares, and we have had to adapt and change and reschedule and do things so differently. If you had a self-care plan in place already, if you had tools in your toolkit, chances are you're doing okay. But chances are, if you didn't, you're done, you're spent. Or you're probably beginning to notice that some physical symptoms are showing up. Headaches, body pains, could be back pains, pain in your shoulder where everything feels knotted up, stomach aches, whatever it may look like, it's going to show up. If you had tuned in last week, you would have heard all about these things that happens because of stress. Last week, Megan and Michelle walked us through dealing with stress, and they also gave you some strategies. Without self-care, mental health issues are going to increase, or they're going to start. And we don't want that to happen. We talked about the self-destructive habits. And you know, for some of those, it may be that it's an overconsumption of food, overconsumption of alcohol, TV, whatever it looks like. We might be turning to that because we don't have those tools. We haven't taken the time to ensure that we are taking care of ourselves. And if you are not taking care of yourself, then your relationships, they're going to suffer. You're going to be irritable. You're just going to be angry all the time. You won't even know why you're angry sometimes. And of course, this reduces everything that you do, and especially when it comes to our work. So let's look at the flip side of self-care. An improved mood. You will be in a more positive mood because you will have a more full spirit. Hopefully, if you have anxiety, it will decrease that anxiety, or the anxiety will not start because you have already started these caring habits that you do on a daily basis. We need to have a strong immune system, especially now. That's what self-care does, because you're listening to your body. You know when to stop. You know when you need to heal. You know when you need to adjust. Your energy level is going to go up. Relationships improve. You begin to feel a better sense of self. Your presence when you show up, when you are doing self-care, it becomes evidence to everyone who sees you, because you walk differently. Your presence, you show up differently. And that is what you want. You want to feel good about you so that you can see the good in others and you can help others feel good about themselves. And all of that leads to inner peace and contentment. You know, I'm sure many of us are beginning to realize that we have had to do it without a whole lot during this crisis as it continues. But if we have those tools, we are realizing that, okay, we are still okay. We are having to do with less, but in that having to do with less, sometimes we are actually having more, because now we have more time, a little bit more time. That time that you would have taken to drive, now you can take that time to do something for yourself. Whatever that looks like to you, because for every one of us, it is different. Our goal is to help you to we want you to have an overall better sense of your physical self, your emotional self, and your spiritual self. So what I'm going to do, you know, when we thought about what do we want to present? It's easy to say, here's a list of 101 self-care tips. But we decided, no, let us help you build a self-care plan. Why? When you build a self-care plan, that is when you are taking a deeper dive into yourself. That is when you are actually looking at, how do I show up? What do I need to change? What do I need to let go of? What do I need to incorporate now into my life? If you're going on a trip, you will make a plan. You're going to plan where you're going to eat or what you're going to carry. If you're staying overnight, where you're going to stay. All of these things, you will make a careful plan. And so we need to make a plan for our own self-care because we want it to be something that we can do daily. So as you look at the screen, ask yourself, what's my go-to strategies when I'm faced with challenges? Am I falling more into those positive coping strategies? Or is it the negative ones that show up? Am I able to kind of move away, just take some deep breaths, recollect myself, maybe just go for a quick walk away from the situation, whatever it is? What's the positive that we are using? Or are we yelling and screaming, acting aggressively? I know I have engaged in some negative coping strategies. And once you recognize them, that's when you realize it's not working. So I had to learn to put aside, to put those away because they didn't help me, they didn't support my needs, and to try to engage in more of the positive coping strategies. When you do that, I can assure you, you are going to start to feel a whole lot better about yourself. And the people around you are going to see it as well. So if you want, you can grab a sheet of paper and you can kind of work through. I'm just going to walk you through those steps. And there is a link, and it's going to be on the last slide of this self-care plan. But if you want, you can download the PDF worksheets and actually do it for yourself. So the first step is you have to identify your self-care needs, because these are the needs you are going to try to incorporate on a daily basis. Self-care must not be about only in a crisis mode. If we are doing it every day, it's a practice, it's just something internal, it comes easily, it comes natural. You are going to be able to respond when things go amiss. So those are some of the areas. We are looking at the physical. Okay, you're looking at we're looking at your nutrition. Are you getting proper sleep? Are you exercising? Are you going to the doctor when something doesn't feel right? All these are the things we need to take care of. What is your emotional practice? What is your sense of self? Do you feel good about who you are right now? Your spiritual, if you have a prayer life, is that something that is important to you? Is it something that you practice? If it is not about prayer, is it that you take walks in nature? You meditate? What does that look like? What is your current practice? How do you show up at work? How are you getting along with your co-workers? Your social? What about your financial? This time, I know, has created quite a bit of crisis for many people because bread earners may be out of work. So what are we doing? How are we going to address this? Are you running away from it, or are you facing it because you have tools? Are you looking at how you're going to pay off debt? Do you have a budget? Do you work with a budget? And what about your whole psychological well-being? How many of you can disconnect, especially from technology? I know that's hard for many of us. We are glued to technology. We're always checking our phones. But sometimes we need to just step away from it. Give ourselves the permission to say, I don't need this right now. I need a break. Give yourself permission to say no. It is okay to say no when you really cannot do something. Do I need counseling? Do I need more support? What is that going to look like? So once you do the sheet, you are looking at what are your current practices and what are the practices that you wish to try. The next sheet is going to talk about our emergency self-care plan. The one we just left, we were looking at what we're going to be doing daily. Now it's the emergency one. What am I going to do to stay calm when some crisis comes my way? Is a crisis going to come? Yes, we know this. If you've been here around long enough, we know that something always comes and turns our world upside down. Are you prepared to deal with it? What are your strategies? What is helpful? What are the things you need to avoid? You know, it's easy to say, okay, I'm just going to have more wine maybe, but the problem is still there. It hasn't gone away. And then you are not helping your body to do the right things to strengthen you in order to face what may come your way. What is your self-talk when a crisis hit? Is it, oh my gosh, I can't do this. No, this is just too much. I can't. Or is your self-talk more of, this is hard, this is difficult, but I know I can get through this. I know the things I need to do. I may not have all the answers right now. I know my support system. I know I will get through this. You have to watch your self-talk, as Joanne talked about earlier, because that is so vitally important. We beat ourselves up so many times, and we don't take the time to praise the good things that we do. Do you have a good social support? What does that look like? Identify your social support. You need to know what it is. You need to know the people who will show up for you and the people who, you know, there's no point in even reaching out to them. They will go under your harmful list. Those are the people you want to avoid because they drain you of energy. What is your mood? What are you doing to keep positive? What are you doing to stay hopeful? All of these things, they're going to help you to become more resilient. If you really sit down and work through this, and I hope you will do this, because if you could sit down and you create that plan, you are well on your way to having tools to support you on a daily basis. When we are resilient, we can withstand the storms. And then we can help others. And then we can teach others how to become resilient also. But we do know that there are barriers and areas for improvement. As we strive to do something, things are going to show up. So now it's time for you to reflect, examine, and replace. Reflect, look back on the list that you just completed. Look back and see, what are my existing coping strategies? What are the self-care tools that I have? Look at it carefully and decide, this is working, I'm going to keep these. Not working, it's time to get rid of this. Because you have to examine closely what it is you are doing in order to ensure that you have good health and good well-being. What are those strategies that you need to put in place? So, okay, let's just say, for example, you want to exercise, but you have young kids. Is it possible? Now you have to determine, are they young enough that I can put them in a stroller and we can all go for a walk? Are they able to walk with me? I just going to have to walk at a slower pace? Or do I have a support system where I can take them to my parents' home and they can spend an hour with them? I can go exercise and I can come back. You're going to have to troubleshoot that. You have the answers. The thing about self-care is that it is unique and it is a very individual thing. You have to decide what is going to work for you. And this is where we have to decide what we're going to replace. You want to fill your toolbox with more positive coping strategies. You want to start to limit and eliminate the negative ones. So now that you have done all that, you have sat with yourself, you have reflected, now you can create your self-care plan. And as you notice on this daily self-care plan, we have 6 areas. And what you're going to do is that you're going to list your favorite strategies for each category. So when you think of your body, mind, and spirit, and those 3 are very core because that's the essence of who you are. What am I going to put into those categories? What do I need to help me to feel strong? You have identified where you're weak, because if you did the self-care plan properly, you would know your strengths and you would know your weaknesses. You will know the areas where you're probably doing a lot and the areas where you're not doing a whole lot and the areas where you need more support. Then you look at your top 3 positive coping strategies. What are they? What are my 3 go-tos that I can use every single day without even thinking about it? You know, you might be working on the computer and you realize, oh my God, I'm just so tired. Is it that I'm just going to take a quick 10-minute recharge? But I just sit, close my eyes, do some deep breathing, whether I'm going to lay down for 10 minutes, whether I'm just going to go outside, play with my pet for 10 minutes, whatever that looks like to you. What are those top 3 things that you can do? Then you're going to put in your emergency self-care plan. What are the helpful things that you can do? What are those top 5 things that you can do in an emergency? Because you know, when an emergency comes, our heart is racing, our thoughts are racing, we are not thinking very clearly, but we can have this list as a quick reminder, okay, these are some things I can do, and you can do them. You're also going to have to list the things you're going to avoid. I've done that in the past. It hasn't worked for me. That's not going to be my go-to. Once you have done your self-care plan, I would suggest that you take a picture of it, you keep it on your phone, and you look at it every day. Maybe that's the first thing you look at in the morning when you wake up. This is my self-care plan for today. These are the strategies and the tools that I'm going to use. And then you can look at it again at night. Did I take care of myself today? Okay, I didn't do a good job. Okay, I will do better tomorrow. Because it's a practice, we want it to become something that is everyday and something that comes natural to you. If you don't want to put it on your phone, download it, print it out, put it somewhere where you know you're going to look at it. But you need to look at this self-care plan every single day. So congratulations if you are going to attempt to do this and you're going to make this work for you. Now, here's the thing though. Some of you may already be battling lots of mental health issues. If you are battling any of these issues, now is the time you need to take care of those issues. If you don't, self-care is not going to be something that you're going to be able to work at. You need to either see your doctor, your therapist, your psychologist, psychiatrist, whoever it is you need to go to and get your mental issues sorted out, because we want you to be stable. Once you have stabilized yourself, then you're able to begin incorporating some of these, the steps that we talked about. You have to know what to look out for. These are some of the signs. If your depression is not going away, your anxiety has increased, you're withdrawing, you're having suicidal thoughts, you know, substance abuse is taking place. These are signs you have to look out for in yourself. These are signs you look out for in your loved ones. And if you notice these things, please, please seek help, because help is 24/7. It's available to you. You have to reach out. There's a suicide prevention lifeline. There's a crisis text line. SelfCare offers a wellness counseling program. You call in, you get 2 free sessions. Remember that self-care matters. Why? Because you matter. You are our SelfCare family and we care about you. We care about our students. We care about our communities. We care about our families. We want you to be good. We want you to be able to stay well. But you have to do self-care. It is very, very important. Maybe you might just start with one thing for the day. Maybe it might be 2 or 3. Maybe you're already doing a great job. And if you are, kudos to you. And if you're not, that's okay. Today you get to start. So we just want to give you a few takeaways because, as I said, our goal here is to help you figure out how you can make self-care a daily part of your life. We go back to where you need to reflect, examine, and replace. Reflect on all those small actions that you do on a daily basis. Look closely at them, examine them carefully, because remember that we want self-care to be an active choice, not something that you do here and there willy-nilly. No, we want it to be a part of your life. We want you to show up with presence. We want you to show up knowing that you are in control of what's going on around you. Yes, times, things will happen, but you're going to be able to bounce back because you already have those tools. And remember, you need to be aware. This is about being mindful. Only through mindfulness would you know what it is you need to replace. So this whole exercise of creating that self-care plan is about being mindful and aware of who you are and what it is you want to accomplish and where you would like to be. So we want to just leave you with some gifts to share, and these are some videos that Joanne found, and we would like you to take some time to just go through them. The Power of a Teacher, Adam Sands, he's actually a Houstonian, and he's from the Katy district, and he works as a teacher, and he's going to talk to you about when he started off as a substitute and what he has learned on that journey. Then you have The One Thing All Teachers Do, and how to motivate your brain to change your behavior. Yes, there's lots of brain work out there right now. Take some time, take a look at the video, see what can help you. There are also many free apps, and these are just a few that we located for you that you can go in, look through, and see which one appeals to you. This is just a sampling. There's so many more, and we encourage you to go out there and see what is going to work for you. What am I comfortable with? And so I just want to encourage you as we get to the end of this presentation to stop and take the time and ask yourself, what am I doing right and what am I not doing right? What do I need to change? And how can I change so that I can just be a better person? I can feel good about who I am. I can have a strong sense of self, and I can be present for others because I have my mask on and I am now able to support others. So Joanne and I, we just want to thank you for taking time to be here with us, for attending this webinar with us. I will also put on the Google Drive a list of self-care tips. So that if you're looking for tips, it'll be available. We didn't put it on this presentation is because we want you to do the inner work with yourself, and then you will be able to create what it is you want to see in your life. So again, we want to thank you. Just remember that you can earn 1 hour of professional development for this course, for looking at this webinar. You have 2 options. You can scan the barcode with your phone, or you can go to the, click the link that is shown above, and it will also take you to the Google form. You do need to log into your district account in order to access it, and it's very simple. It's just 3 things you're just going to answer. You click submit, because it's just your name, your first name, your last name, employer ID, and that's it. And you submit and you will earn your 1 hour of professional development. So we would leave the screen up for a few minutes. And again, we just want to say, be well, be safe, practice and incorporate self-care into your daily life. You will see that you will show up differently. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.